Yes, hello, Ngapnia. Hello, everybody. Today I'm here to reading books, Atomic Habits, because I has been finished reading in my books. Atomic Habits. It means you know because I just wanna improve the reading my English. So I started the reading Atomic Habits. Okay, and reading 20 minutes every day because I didn't have finished my 365 days the reading challenge. I haven't made it. So today, I'm here to start it reading the English book to improve the speaking English with the other persons. Or yeah, okay, let's start it. The introduction. My story. On the final day of my sophomore years of high school, I was hit in the face with a baseball bat. As my classmate took a full swing, the bat slipped out of his hands and came flying toward me before striking me directly between the eyes. Sorry, um, I'm sorry. So I will just make some mistake. So don't mad at me. Mm, I have no memories of the moment or impatient. The best smashed into my face with such force that it crushed my nose into a distorted U-shape. The collision set the soft tissues of my brain slamming into the inside of my skull. Immediately, a wave of swelling surged throughout my hand in a fraction of a second. I had a broken nose, multiple skulls, fractures, and two shattered eyes sockets. When I opened my eyes, I saw people staring at me and running over to help. I looked, I looked down and noticed spots of red on my clothes. One of my classmates took the shirt off his back and handed it to me. I used to, I used to block at the stream of blood rushing from my broken nose. Shocked and confused, I was unaware of how seriously I had been injured. My teacher's love had arms around my shoulder and we began the long walk to Noah's office across the field, down the hill, and back into school. Random hands touched my sides, holding me upright. We took our time and walked slowly. Nobody realized that every moment, every minute matters. Sorry. Slowly, nobody realized that every minute matters. When we arrived at the nurse's office, she asked me a series of questions. What year is it? 1998. The answer, it was actually 2002. Who is the president of the United States? Bill Clinton. I said the correct answer was George W. Bush. What is your mom name? Um, um, I stalled 10 seconds past. Petty. I said casually, ignoring the fact that it had taken me 10 seconds to remember my own mother's name. That is the last question I remember. My body was unable to handle the repeat, the swelling in my brain, and I lost consciousness before the ambulance arrived. Minutes later, I was carried out of school and taken to the local hospital. Shortly after arriving, my body began shutting down. I struggling with basic functions like swallowing and breathing. I had my first seizures of the day. Then I stopped breathing entirely as the doctors hurried to supply me with oxygen. They also decided the local hospital was unequipped to handle the situation and ordered the helicopter to fly me to a larger hospital in Cincinnati. I was rolled out of the emergency room doors and toward the helipad across the street. The stretcher readied on a bumpy sidewalk as one nurse pushes me along while another pumps its brake into me by hand. My mother, who had arrived at the hospital a few moments before, climbed into the helicopter beside me. I remained unconscious and unable to breathe on my own as she held my hand during the flight. Well, my mother rode with me in the helicopter. My father went home to check on my brother and sister and break the news to them. He choked back tears as he explained to my sister that he would miss her graduation ceremony that night. After passing my siblings off to family and friends, he drove to Cincinnati to meet my mother. When my mom and I landed on the roof of the hospital, a team of nearly 20 doctors and nurses sprinted onto the helipad and wheeled me into the trauma unit. By this time, the swelling in my brain had become so severe that I was having repeated post-traumatic seizures and my broken bones needed to be fixed. But I was in no condition to undergo surgery. After yet another seizure, my third of the day, I was put into a medically endorsed coma and placed on a ventilator. My parents were no strangers to this hospital. 10 years earlier, they had entered the same building on the ground floor after my sister was diagnosed with leukemia at age 3. I was 5 at the time. My brother was just 6 months old. After 2.5 years and chemotherapy, treatments, spinal taps, and bone marrow by size, my little sister finally walks out of the hospital happy, healthy, and cancer-free. And now, after 10 years of normal life, my parents found themselves back in the same place with a different child. Well, I slipped into a coma. The hospital sent a priest and a social worker to comfort my parents. It was the same priest who had met with them a decade earlier. On the evening they found out my sister had cancer. As the day faded into night, a series of machines kept me alive. My parents slept restfully on hospital mattress. One moment they would collapse from fatigue. The next day, the next they would be wide awake with worry. My mother will tell me later it was one of the most nights I've ever had. My recovery. Mercifully, by the next morning, my brain had rebounded to the point where the doctors feel comfortable releasing me from the coma. When I finally regained consciousness, I discovered that I had lost my ability to smell. As a test, a nurse asked me to blow my nose and snuff an apple juice box. My sense of smell returned, but to everyone's surprised at all blowing my nose forced air through the fractures in my eyes, shocking and pushed my left eye outward. My eyes bulged off of the socket, half precariously in place by my eyelid and the optic nerves attaching my eyes to my brain. The off oh sorry, this is what I can read. Said my eyes were gradually slide back into place as the air seeped out. But it was hard to tell how long this would take. It was scheduled for surgery 1 week later, which will allow me some additional time to heal. I looked like I had been on the wrong end of boxing match, but I was cleared to leave the hospital. I returned home with a broken nose, half a dozen facial fractures, and a bulging left eye. The following months were hard. It felt like everything in my life was on pause. I had double vision for weeks. I, re- I really couldn't see straight. It took more than a month, but my eyeball did eventually return to its normal location. Between the side sores and my vision problems, it was 8 months before I could drive a car again. Physical therapy, I practiced basic motor patterns like walking in a straight line. I was determined not to let my injury get me down, but there were more than a few moments when I felt depressed and overwhelmed. I became painfully aware of how far I had to go when I returned to the baseball field 1 year later. Baseball had always been a major part of my life. My dad had played minor league baseball for the St. Louis Cardinals, and I had a dream of playing professionally too. After months of rehabilitations, what I wanted more than anything was to get back on the field. But my return to baseball was not smooth. When the season rolls around, I was the only junior to be cut from the varsity baseball team. And first on the sport, getting cut was humiliating. I vividly remember this day it happened. I sat in my car and cried as I flipped it through the radio. Desperately researching for a song that would make me feel better. After a year of the self-doubt, I managed to make the varsity team as a senior, but I really made it on the field. In total, I played 11 innings of high school varsity baseball, barely more than a single game. Despite my lackluster high school career, I still believed that I could become a great player, and I knew that if things were going to improve, I was the one responsible for making it happen. The turning point came 2 years after the injuries when I began college at Denison University. It was a new beginning, and it was the place when I really discovered the surprising power of small habits for the first time. Yes, how I learned how I learned about habits. Attending the Nations was one of the best decisions of my life. I earned a spot on the baseball team, and although I was at the bottom of the roster as a freshman, I was thrilled. But despite the chaos of my high school years, I had managed to become a college athlete. I wasn't going to be starting on the baseball team anything at the time soon, so I focused on the getting my life in order. Well, my parents stayed up late and played video games. I built good sleep habits and went to bed early each night in the messy walls of the college dorm. I made a point to keep my room neat and tidy. These improvements were minor, but they gave me a sense of control over my life. I started to feel confident again, and this growing belief in myself ripped into the classroom as I improved my study habits and managed to earn strength as during my first year. A habit is routine or behavior that that performs irregularly and, in many cases, automatically as each semester passed. I accumulated small but consistent habits that ultimately led to results that were unimaginable to me when I studied, for example, for the first time in my life. I made a habit to lift weights multiple times per week, and in the years that followed, my 6'4" frame bulked up from the feathering 170 to land 200 pounds. When my sophomore season arrived, I earned a strengthening role on the pitching staff by my junior year. I was voting team captain, and at the end of the season, I was selected for the All Conference team. But it was not until my senior seasons that my sleep habits, study habit, and strength training habits really began to pay off. 6 years after I had been hit in the face with a baseball bat, flown to the hospital, and placed into a coma. I was selected as the top male athlete at this Denison University and named to the ESPN Academic All-American Team, and honor given to just 33 players across the country. By the time I was graduated, year, sorry, I was listening in the school record books in 8 different categories that same year. I was awarded the university's highest academic honor, the President's Medal. I hope you all forgive me if this sounds boastful. To be honest, there was nothing legendary or historic about my athletic career. I never ended up playing professionally. However, looking back on those years, I believe I accomplished something just as real. I fulfilled my potential, and I believe that the concept in this book can help you fulfill your potential as well. We all face challenges in life. This injury was one of mine, and the experience taught me a critical lesson. Change that seems more like small and unipointed at first will compound into remarkable results if you're willing to stick with them for years. We all deal with setbacks, but in the long run, the quality of our lives often depends on the quality of our habits. With the same habits, you end up with the same result, but with better habits. Anything is possible. Maybe there's more people who can achieve incredible success overnight. I don't know any of them, and I'm certainly not one of them. There wasn't one defining moment on my journey from medically endorsed diploma to academic All-American. There were many. It was a gradual evolution. A long series of small wins and tiny breakthroughs. The only way I made progress, the only choice I had, was to start small, and I employed this time it is same strategy. A few years later, when I started my own business and began working on this book. Okay, how and why I wrote this book. In November 2012, I began publishing articles at jamesclear.com. For years, I had been keeping notes about my personal experience with habits, and I was finally ready to share some of them publicly. I began by publishing a new article every Monday and Thursday. Within a few months, this simple writing habit led to my first 1,000 email subscribers, and by the end of 2033, that number had grown to more than 30,000 people. And 2014, my email list expanded to over 100,000 subscribers, which made it one of the fastest growing newsletters on the internet. I had felt like an imposter when I began writing 2 years earlier, but now I was becoming known as an expert on habits new level that exciting me but also feels uncomfortable. I have never considered myself a master of the topic, but rather someone who invests experimenting alongside my readers. In 2015, I reached 200,000 email subscribers and signed a book deal with Penguin Random House to begin reading the book you are reading now. As my audience grew, so did my business opportunities. I was increasingly changed secretly asked to speak at top companies about the science of habit formation, behavior change, and continuous improvement. I found myself delivering keynote speeches at conferences in the United States and Europe. In 2016, my records began to appear regularly in major publications like Time Entrepreneurial and Forbes. Incredibly, my wedding was read by over 8 million people that year. Coach and the NFL, NBA, and MLB began reading my work and sharing it with their teams. At the start of the 2017, I launched the Habits Academy, which become the premier training platform. Organizations and individuals interested in building better habits in life and work. Fortune 500 companies and growing startups began to enroll their leaders and train their staff. In total, over 10,000 leaders, managers, coaches, and teachers have graduated from the Habits Academy. And my work with them has taught me an incredible amount about what it takes to make habits work in the real world. As I put the finished touch on this book in 2018, JamesClear.com is receiving millions of visitors per month and nearly 500,000 people subscribe to my weekly email newsletters, a number that is so far beyond my expectation when I began that I'm not even sure what to think of it. How this book will benefit you. The entrepreneur and investor and an investor, Noel Ravikant has said, to buy a great book, you must first become the book. I originally learned about the ideas mentioned here become I had to live them. I had to rely on small habits to rebound from my injury, to get stronger in the gym, to perform at a high level on the field, to become a writer, to build a successful business, and simply to develop into a responsible adult. Small habits helped me to fulfill my potential, and since you picked up this book, I'm guessing you'd like to fulfill yours as well. In the page that follow, I will share a step-by-step plan for building better habits, not for days or weeks, but for a lifetime. Well, science supports everything after reading this book. It's not an academic research paper. It's an operating manual. You'll find wisdom and a practical advice brought at the center as I explain the science of how to create and change your habits in a way that is easy to understand and apply. Now, the fields are drawn on biology, new neuroscience, philosophy, psychology, and more have been around for many years. What I offer you is a same synthesis of the best ideas smart people figured out a long time ago, as well as the most compelling discoveries scientists have made recently. My contribution, I hope, is to find the ideas that matter most and connect them in a way that is highly actionable. Anything wise in this space, you should read you should read it to the many experts who preceded me. Anything fulfills Arizona, it is my error. The backbone of this book is my first step. Model of Harvest Q. Carrying, respond, and reward, and the four laws of behavior change that evolves of all the steep steps. Readers with a psychology background may recognize Some of these terms from operant conditioning, which was first proposed as stimulus response reward by B. F. Skinner in the 1930s and has been popularized more recently as Q routine reward, the power of habit by Charles Donkey. So, oh, I have been read the 25 minutes. Sorry guys, I make a lot of mistake of reading this book and I don't know what this word is saying, but I have to improve myself more to reading the book and make it perfect. So guys, this video is the end. Thank you for watching my video. So next video, goodbye everyone.